What's good? It's Extreme Caution. Today I'm going to go over my official WWE Backlash predictions. For him, go over every match of the card, what I thought of the build of Backlash, what I think leading after Backlash. If you like daily wrestling content, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so don't miss any of my content. But I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into the predictions. The first match I want to start off with is Io Sky versus Asuka. This has been a long-term story that they have been telling for about a year now. Start off with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Really, that's really the main motivator of the story, with Asuka constantly manipulating and constantly, treating Kairi Sane bad, and Io Sky being in the background trying to help Kairi Sane to eventually turn on Asuka. But due to Kairi Sane getting released by WWE, it seems like we're not going to eventually get that face turn. Now, there's a wild card aspect where this could potentially lead to a situation where Kairi Sane does return and does eventually turn on Asuka. They could do that because they have done this with a recent release before with R-Truth, where they released him, then brought him back. So they could do this with Kairi Sane. I don't see it happening. I just don't. I just, maybe I could be wrong, but WWE typically, when it comes to Backlash, in the past few years, they have always had some type of return when it comes to Backlash. I think in 23, Carlito returned. I think in 25, Jeff Cobb returned. I'm not sure who returned in 24, but someone did return in 24. But typically every year Tonga Loa returned in 24. Yeah, Tonga Loa made his debut in 24. So typically they have a new debut. They either have a return or a debut at Backlash. So this could be Kairi Sane's return match. She could return, be back in WWE, who knows? But who I think is winning this match is going to be Io Sky. It makes the most sense for Io Sky to win. I don't really have much to really say here because I have been off this feud for a while now, mainly because I just thought they dragged this feud out way too long, especially when the main motivator of this feud was Kairi Sane, and the fact that she's not even there anymore, it kind of makes the feud feels like it kind of has no purpose. It's going to be a great match. I hope it's a great match because you can't have this match be bad or mid and we waited this long for this to eventually happen. So very interested to see how this plays out. I don't know what's really next for Asuka, especially because she can't just tag team with Kairi Sane, so she would have to be a single star. But I don't know what a single star Asuka can really do with current booking. She could be a great singles wrestler. We know she can. I just don't see her being in the world title picture, but I also don't see her being in the mid card. So it's like, I don't really know what you do with her. Well, she would be a good feud for Sol Ruka. Yeah, if Sol Ruka wins the IC championship, she'll be a good feud for Sol Ruka. So maybe maybe that's the play down the road. Whenever Sol Ruka becomes women's intercontinental champion, Sol Ruka and Asuka could eventually have a match and have a feud. That would be interesting. Now for Io Sky, that's going to be an interesting question because I don't see her winning any world championship gold anytime soon. I just don't, because I think they're going to drag out this Judgment Day stuff. And then one of the Judgment Day members is going to beat Liv Morgan for that title. I don't think Io Sky is going to win it anytime soon. So, and then when it comes to the women's IC title, unless Becky Lynch retains and keeps being IC champion, that's the only thing I can see that. But it looks like they're high on Sol Ruka. So, very interested to see what they do with Io Sky after this match. So that's going to be very interesting. Very interesting to see who she feuds with. Because again, I don't know what heels she can feud with. Unless she's feuding with the Judgment Day. That's the only thing. So very interesting to see overall how this eventual match plays out with Io Sky. Of course, I think is winning. I just don't see a world where Asuka wins unless they want to drag this feud out even more, which I think would be very dumb. But we'll see eventually how this all unfolds. But I have Io Sky picking up the victory. Moving on to a tag team match with Danhausen, a mystery tag partner versus Miz and Kit Wilson. Now, this has been a thing on SmackDown for a bit. I haven't really discussed this because I just felt like it was unnecessary and pointless, but apparently not, because they're going to have a tag team match on Backlash. Look, I don't think this match should have been on Backlash. I actually think it's kind of disrespectful that this is on Backlash because, no offense to Danhausen, but it's fucking Danhausen. Like, why is he getting a match on a PLE, mind you, over actual wrestlers? Like, I just find this disrespectful. Like, you're telling me Rhea Ripley couldn't get on Backlash? Liv Morgan couldn't get on Backlash? You're telling me Tiffany Stratton? Like, actual women, like, it's not even a women thing, but you couldn't tell me Damian Truth couldn't get on the tag? Like, you're telling me actual wrestlers who wrestle weekly, mind you, who aren't comedy characters, who are actually taken seriously, couldn't get on the show. PLE spots are already sacred in WWE. You're only getting like 5 matches at most. So we're wasting one of them on a Miz, Kit Wilson, and Danhausen match. Like, we can't be serious right now. Look, the mystery of tag person, for me, I think it's going to be Jelly Roll. I think Jelly Roll is going to be the mystery of tag partner of Danhausen. I think it makes the most sense, especially because he has history with Miz and Kit Wilson. Now, the other person that people are saying is CM Punk. That would just be retarded, if I'm being honest. That would just be dumb. Why? Why is CM Punk going to be, like, why? Like, come on. Look, now, Jelly Roll, I don't want to see that either, but at least it makes more sense. And plus, I'd rather that than CM Punk, because I feel like if CM Punk is going to return, he should be going after World Championship gold, not in a pointless feud with The Miz and Kid West. I don't even care about this feud, honestly. I'm not even going to speak about it, because, again, this is a funny comedic feud, but it shouldn't end on a PLE, in my opinion. Everything else ends on a PLE, but I mean, everything else ends on Raw or SmackDown, but this ends on a PLE for some weird reason. But Danhausen is winning because he typically doesn't lose. Plus, they still got the curse going on. So Danhausen and whoever his tag partner is, which I'm assuming is Jelly Roll, is going to pick up the victory. Now we got the United States Championship match between Trick Williams and Sami Zayn. This has been a somewhat interesting story. It has gone down a bit for me personally. I have actually been liking the Sami Zayn and Trick storyline. Most people are hating on it, mainly due to some of it is bad booking, but some of it is also just people just hating on Sami Zayn. I've been liking the story they've been telling with Sami Zayn, with him going down a darker path, him becoming more vicious, more ruthless. I like what they're doing here. Now, the gingerbread stuff is just dumb. I just think they're going a bit overboard with that, but that's just dumb. But I could see it going out though. I could see Trick Williams winning, but I could also see Sami Zayn winning. This is going to be very interesting because they could play two routes. They could have Sami win by cheating, him turning heel to win the United States Championship. But they could also tell the story of Sami losing, him going down a darker path, and then him eventually turning heel. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they play that out. Who do I have winning? I'm going to have Trick Williams retain here, because I think eventually Carmelo Hayes will eventually get back in the fold, and then you could tell the Melo and Trick storyline with Sami probably looming in the background. And plus, typically what WWE does, typically they don't have a person turn heel and win the championship. I can't think of the last time that a wrestler turned heel in a match and won the match. If them typically what WWE likes to do, they typically like to do that slow burn where the wrestler keeps losing, and then turn heel. They done it with Chad Gable. They done it with Kevin Owens. They kind of are doing it with Randy, but Randy was already a heel. But you get the point. They typically like to have the wrestler lose a lot and then turn heel and then eventually get their comeuppance, maybe. But they typically don't have the wrestler turn heel and win the match. That's simply not how Triple H does things. So I have Trick Williams retaining, and then this is going to lead to a darker Sami Zayn down the road. Moving on, we got a singles match between Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. I have been loving what they've been doing with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, with them constantly attacking each other. Two guys who just purely hate each other, who just want nothing but the worst for each other. I've been loving this with Braun Breaker, attacking Seth Rollins, kicking him out of the division, leaving Seth Rollins on the shelf for a couple of months. Seth Rollins wants his revenge on Braun Breaker. Seth Rollins feels like he's the innocent person in this situation. He tried to help Braun Breaker only for Braun Breaker to betray him. Braun Breaker feels the opposite, where he feels like he was just his lackey that was just supporting Seth Rollins, that he didn't really gain anything from Seth Rollins, that Seth Rollins ruined his momentum to the main event, saying that he never needed Seth Rollins' help to be in the position that he is, that he eventually wants to get towards. So I've been liking what they've been doing here. I really love the story they've been telling. Very interested to see who wins this match. They're also telling a story of Seth Rollins potentially being alone, with him having no friends on Raw, which makes perfect sense because him and the Vision was terrorizing the entire Raw roster. So it makes sense for him to have no friends. So very interesting how that plays out. Now, who wins this match is going to be very interesting. Based off the Go Home show, I'm got to go with Seth Rollins. Based off how WWE typically likes to book, whoever stands tall at the Go Home show typically wins. That's typically how it goes. Now, sometimes they can pull a swerve, but majority of the time, it's typically the person who stands tall loses the match. Also, this is going to be a multi-series match. So I think they're going to have Seth win the first match to prove his point. Braun Breaker eventually gets frustrated, gets more angry, more vicious. He wins the second match and then eventually wins the feud. Because I think Braun is going to win the feud. But I think if you want the feud to continue, it makes sense for Seth to win. Because if Braun Breaker wins the first match, I don't see what reason would Seth have to return. I get that Seth wants his revenge. I get that point. But if you lose cleanly to Braun, that just proves that Braun was right. But typically, it makes more sense for the heel to lose to prove a point to eventually get revenge than it does a babyface. Because babyfaces typically want to do the noble thing, right? They typically want to do the noble thing. If they lose clean, they lost clean, and they don't go after. But typically, when heels lose, they don't care. It's like, I got cheated, or whatever, that they feel justified in them losing because they don't feel like it was their fault why they lost, or they feel like they got overconfident, whatever, and they want another shot. So I feel like that's the route they're going to go with Braun Breaker. He's going to lose this match. Seth Rollins picks up the victory, and then eventually Braun Breaker gets frustrated. He crashes out, attacks Seth Rollins again, wants another match. Seth Rollins gives it to him, and then Braun wins back-to-back match. Because I think this is going to be a 3-match series. It could be more. Could be more. They could drag this out, but we'll see how this plays out. But I do have Seth Rollins picking up the victory. Now we get the main event. We get Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship. This has been a really solid story. I've been liking the story they've been telling here overall. It's really Jacob is trying to provide for his family. He doesn't want to be tribal chief, but he wants everything the tribal chief has. He wants the money. He wants the lifestyle. He wants the better school. He wants the pay raise, all of that. And Roman is simply trying to stay at the top of the mountain, and he wants to remain. Basically, he wants everyone to know that he's the tribal chief, and he basically wants respect from Jacob Fatu. I like what they're doing here. They've been having Jacob Fatu stand tall against Roman Reigns every single week, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown. So I just think Roman is winning there. But plus, it's too soon for Roman Reigns to lose that World Heavyweight Championship. But the story really, I'm just interested. What is the dynamic between Jacob and Roman after this match? Is Roman going to have respect for Jacob? Is Jacob going to have more respect for Roman? Is Jacob going to fall in line with Roman? Could we see a new debut person? Backlash every year has a new debut or a return. Carlito in 23, Tongalo in 24, Jeff Cobb in 25. Some rumors are saying Zilla Fatu is going to make his debut. Who knows? But every year, there's always a new or a return at Backlash. Every year. For the past 3 to 4 years, there's been a return or a debut. So someone is going to return or debut. I just don't know who's going to return or debut, but someone's going to return or debut. And it probably will be in this bloodline match, to be honest with you. So very interested how this plays out. But I think Roman will win. And I think he will win cleanly, by the way. I don't think the Usos or no one's going to get involved, which I'm actually enjoying because for the longest time, Roman constantly needed help to win. It is finally good to see him not needing help to win. So I do hope this is a clean match where someone just loses cleanly. No shenanigans, no interruptions. But I could definitely see Zilla Fatu interfering in a match, helping Roman win. I could definitely see that. Or helping Jacob. Who knows? But very interested how this plays out. But I have Roman Reigns retaining the World Heavyweight Championship. Those are my overall thoughts and opinions of Backlash. You guys let me know your overall thoughts and opinions. Leave your predictions down below in the comment section. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. But yeah, that's it.